Imagine with me now, you are in Tanzania, Africa. You're just starting your off-road tour business. You have a Jeep and a map to Kilimanjaro, famous Mount Kilimanjaro. But in the spirit of adventure, you just tell your drivers to take the customers and just wing it there. I mean, you're the owner. You can tell them whatever you want. Just make sure the customers get there however you can get there. And sure, your best employee takes the customer out. And along the way, they run into an unexpected storm. The Jeep is just getting drenched in rain, and they're hitting potholes, and it's just getting covered in mud everywhere, and he can barely see through the windshield. And every time he looks through a clear spot in the windshield, he doesn't recognize where he is, because again, you're off-roading and they're just kind of winging it, and the customer's just getting irate, and your employee parks and he calls you and he says, like, I can see Kilimanjaro, but I don't know where I'm at. And you say, just keep driving, and he doesn't even know how far he is, and the customer's just getting pissed and he'd rather turn around. But it's almost the same thing to turn around. I mean, they're practically lost, and every time he clears up the windshield and makes some progress, he hits another mud puddle, and he gets dirtied up again, and he gets turned around again. So what do you think? Was it enough just to tell him to drive to Kilimanjaro and get there however he can, in the spirit of adventure? Clearly it wasn't. And that can happen with your business or organization if you don't have a clear vision. Not just a clear vision for the customers to hear about, but for the employees to live by, and even yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today as we kick off this leadership series on Bright Insights.
Welcome to another episode of Bright Insights, the podcast that leads you to less stress and more success. Here's your host, Paul Bright.
Welcome to Bright Insights. I'm your host, Paul Bright. Thank you for giving us a listen. As always, if you want to find out more about my background, what makes me the person that I am that decided to start a podcast, all the crazy stuff I've been through in my life, feel free to check out the Bright Insights Media webpage, brightinsightsmedia.com. Go to the About page and you'll learn where all this is coming from. And today we kick off the Leadership 101 series. In this series, I'm going to give you guys some outlines of leadership styles, a few principles to go by. It doesn't matter what kind of business you run. It doesn't matter what kind of operation you're engaging in. If you've got people under you, if you've got people that have to follow your direction or follow your lead, everything I'm going to talk to you about in these next few episodes is going to be relatable and is going to be applicable. I promise you. I've been through so many different experiences involving leadership, involving followership, teaching leadership principles in the military, experiencing lots of things where I've been thrown into the wolves, and just been expected to handle multi-million-dollar aircraft while being basically the next to last lowest ranking person that should be touching anything of that nature. It happens. And fortunately, I've gotten through a lot of stuff, good and bad, and I'm able to present what I've learned, not just in life, but even through my master's degrees education, and just bring it to you. And you can take it and run with it. And today I'm going to talk to you about the one thing you've got to have before you start, before you say, I am now the owner operator and I need people to work for me. Even before you hire somebody for your own self, it's one thing you've got to have. You need this. You need this no matter what you're going to lead. And it is a clear, concise vision. That's it. A clear, concise vision. It's not the same thing as having a goal. It's not the same thing as saying we're starting from point A and we're going to get to point B. If you pay attention to that story I relayed at the beginning of off-roading to Kilimanjaro, you had the mountain in front of you. You had sort of a path on a map, and you had a vehicle. And that wasn't enough. To know that you've got the best product ever in your category, to know that you have the smartest staff, to know that you have the most resources to launch your business is not enough. Those are all great things to have. There's a great tool set. It's awesome. It's like having 5 all-stars in your starting 5 for a professional basketball team, or just an awesome top to bottom from offense to defense on an NFL team. Just everybody is stacked. It's great to have all those things, but none of them go very far consistently without the one thing you need, that clear, concise vision. You have to start with that. So what is the difference between having a goal and having a clear, concise vision? Well, it's how you get there. You see, when you bring people along, when you bring new customers along, when you bring partners along, they're following your lead, but they're all different. And if you just give them the minimum, or if you're giving a different story every time someone says, so what's your business about? What do you do? What is it that's driving you guys? How do you move forward? What's your plan? If the answer is so different every time, or someone goes, well, I don't know, whatever Paul tells us to do, you're going to get so many squirrely paths on the way to that goal. And you might get lucky and get there, or you might fall off the map and never get there. No matter what you have, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter quality staff. Without a clear, concise vision, no one knows where they're going. They know where they're going. They're just not sure exactly how they're going to get there. So, I mean, let's say you were running that off-roading operation I was talking about, and somebody asked you, what is it that you do? What is it you're doing there in Tanzania? And you say, well, I provide off-road expeditions to Mount Kilimanjaro. Oh, that's cool. I can see that. There's probably 1 million people that do that, but okay. And your employee says, well, what is it that we do, boss? And you tell him, well, we take people to mountains. And then another employee hears a piece of that and says, I guess we do mountain travel. And then another employee says, I think we travel to Kilimanjaro somehow and we just get people to pay for it. And all of those guys are sort of right, but it's not very clear exactly how you do it. And if you needed somebody to invest and they're not sure what it is that you do that's going to make you stand out or how you get there, what principles you're riding by, why take the time? It's like on to the next. And so what happens is all your employees start going in different directions, even though they're trying to get to the mountain. Are they going to bike there? Are they going to off-road there? Do you have plans to get planes? Who knows? It's not clear. It's not concise, even though you have great intentions. Now, let me give you a real world example of how I was able to take all the good and bad things that happened to me, and my education, and was able to help somebody lead. And basically I co-led a mission for the homeless people in our neighborhood. And it was interesting because it was right as I was getting all this knowledge and putting it together. I was like, oh, this totally makes sense. This is where people get lost. And, I'm not going to proselytize or anything, but yeah, I have a faith. I have a Christian faith, and I go to a church. And in our church, I'll just say this guy's name is Jack. We had a guy who was a homeless ministry leader. He used to be homeless. His whole family was homeless. They used to sleep in the church lobby when it was providing shelter once a week. And eventually Jack got on his feet, got his family together. They got a place to live, and he felt like he needed to give back, gave his life to the Lord, and said, I'm going to lead a homeless ministry. And so he used to do these outings. He would take a van and another partner, and they would go out into the woods, into the river banks. They would go out, find homeless people, some they knew that would, toddle into the neighborhood here and there. And, give them a cup of coffee and say, hey, if you ever want to get warm, we're opening 1 or 2 nights a week. You can come stay. So he said, I think I'm going to have a fundraiser. I was like, cool. So for a week, he was going, you want to buy a ticket to the spaghetti feed? He just asked me, want to buy a ticket to the spaghetti feed? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, Jack. Why? It's to help the homeless. And some people would buy a ticket. Like me, I don't really like spaghetti all that much. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to eat, but here's a few dollars. Hopefully that helps. Eventually the spaghetti feed happened. And I said, hey, Jack, how'd that go? So he was all right. He made like a couple $100. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. He said, well, it's not enough. I said, what's going on? He said, well, we're actually buying backpacks and we're going to put survival stuff in there for them. Socks, blankets, Band-Aids, all kinds of stuff. Cause where we live, it gets really, really cold and really, really rainy in the wintertime. And the whole mission is just to keep them alive long enough to where they're going to be able to get services and improve their lives if they choose to. And I was like, that is really cool. Wish I would have known that. I didn't know. It was just another thing for the homeless to me, the way it was being presented. I was like, you could have sold more tickets to the church. I would have helped you. He's like, nah, we can't ask the people in our church. He says, it's like bleeding turnips. They already give enough. I was like, Jack, nah, we got to do this better. We can do better. You got a great mission. You're the number one guy for this. I was like, but let me help you organize something bigger than this. We can go way, way bigger than a couple $100. And so this is where the vision came in. I said, first of all, that thing you just told me about how you're going to help the homeless, everybody needs to know that. Anytime someone asks you why you're selling a ticket for something like that, it got to be beyond just to help the homeless. I mean, it's like, hey, listen, we're putting survival packs together to help the homeless. We're going to give them backpacks and blankets and all these things that they can take with them so they can survive long enough to get services. That means a whole lot more to me than tossing a couple of dollars. And I was like, the other thing is, I think we can do better than spaghetti. And see, Jack did it because spaghetti's fairly cheap to make and he's a good cook and he could do it mostly by himself. But the cool thing about our church was that there's a whole lot of really good cooks in there that are always bringing cool stuff when we ever have potlucks. I was like, I think we could hit our church up that will at least provide the food. At least do that much. And let's put a theme together. That's called a pasta extravaganza. So it's still Italian. We can get an Italian theme and we can get people to decorate. We can do all this stuff. We got all this space. We got all these people and we don't even have to charge all that much because we can just make it all you can eat. And he's like, hell, how's that going to work? I said, look, everybody makes a meal that can make a meal. Just make enough for your family plus one person. Okay. You get enough of those meals. You price the tickets to where it's how much you would have to feed your family if you were to go out, even for fast food. But it's all you can eat because pasta fills you up, man. We're not going to run out of food. I promise you. And if we do it the right day, then we can make this happen. We can raise a whole lot more than a couple $100. And so that's what we did. We started putting this together. We started looking for people. It's like, well, who can decorate? It's like, oh, well, let's just find all the children's ministry people. They're really good at decorating. And then, we found the cooks. That was real easy. We found somebody that was going to handle the money part of it. My part of it was just gathering all these people, having these meetings, figuring out who's going to do what, when we're going to lay this out. The date I picked for us to do this was the last weekend before school started, because a lot of these families we have a lot of kids. And instead of cooking after vacation and spending like, $50, $60 or $40, $50, because some of these people got like 5 or 6 kids just to go to McDonald's, like, man, if you plop down 25 and have all you can eat, plus a chance to win something if we do a raffle, that's a deal right there. And you're helping the homeless. And that was the seller right there. That was the seller right there. And so this team, full of people who had a lot of different skill sets. We had Jack was the face of it because he was the guy who would recover from homeless and handling the ministry. I emceed because I got the big mouth. I put everything together on the paper. The team just did what they do best, and everybody came together. We got it all done. I think we must have raised like $600 or $700, and we didn't even really advertise anywhere outside of our church. But the word of mouth just got there, and all these people, we had to open an extra room for folks to eat. We got the local community to participate because they were donating meals and things we could raffle off. And then the next 3 years. We had different people on the team, but we kept the same system. We'll just change the theme of the food. We just make it fun. And we did it for 4 years straight, and we just kept raising more and more money each time. And at the end of the year, we'd have a dinner for the homeless, and they would come in from the rain and the mud and what have you, have a hot meal, go back out with a survival pack, and it was on, man. As long as that ministry ran, we were having it, and it worked. And it just really flipped when I just had Jack give his vision to everyone. He had a vision. He just didn't tell anybody what it was. It was just help the homeless. But when he said, this is how we're going to help the homeless, this is what we're shooting towards, everyone was for that. Everybody had an extra pair of socks. Everybody had an extra blanket somewhere, or a couple of dollars at the 99-cent store, or, the dollar store to get some things, and even better stuff. People were like knitting quilts. It just got to be so ridiculously huge to the point where this little church got to the front paper of the local newspaper, and pictures of folks. And the thing is, when you do something like that, you're not doing it for the glory. You're not doing it like, hey, look at me, look at me. But it is kind of cool when you can take a group of quote unquote ordinary folks, give folks a vision, have them shooting for a goal that doesn't require a ton of capital or corporate sponsorship or anything like that to make it happen. And you get there. You get there. That's the beauty of having a clear, concise vision, no matter what it is that you want to run. Even if that windshield gets muddy, like from the Jeep story, if you have a vision that's clear and concise, and everybody on your team knows about it, it doesn't matter what happens out there in the rain. If instead of just saying, you know what, we're having off-road adventures to Kilimanjaro, you say, we are going to be the #1 off-road vehicle adventure to Kilimanjaro. And we're going to do it by focusing on the customer, being as prepared as we possibly can for anything that can happen, so the customer can have the best experience ever. When you have that, when that's the vision, that's when your folks go, okay, we're going to be #1. Well, let's take a look at what everyone else is doing. Oh, you know what? They don't have a very good GPS system. Let's get a better GPS system. Oh, you know what? These 5 guys down here, they really know the ins and outs of how to get to Kilimanjaro from where we're at. They know the shortcuts. They know the alternate paths. Maybe we can hire these guys. Oh, check this out. These are some extra strong windshield wipers. That would make it a lot easier, so that if it rains, and it gets really, really muddy, this will clear up a lot faster. And let's just have maps and this, and maybe we'll take a few extra trips out before we go. And these are even things that I'm naming. This is off the top of my head. This is just a whole made up business that your employees will think about and do on their own if they buy into your vision. You don't have to tell everyone what to do at that point. You may not even agree with some of the tactics or strategies, but if they all still fit the vision and you say, okay, you know what, give it a shot. It still fits the vision of providing the best customer experience through an off-road vehicle from here to Kilimanjaro. If it fits it, let's give it a shot. At least there's a direction. At least if they hit an unexpected storm, or there's a flat tire, or they have to go, there's some kind of crazy detour, they prepared, and they get back on track real easy. Even if the windshield gets muddy, figuratively, in your business, it doesn't matter, because everyone's bought into it. They had a clear, concise vision to follow, and they can clean that windshield off real quick. And when you can trust a team because they trust you, because they trust your vision, you have a whole lot less stress and more success. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Bright Insights. For more information on how to have less stress and more success, visit brightinsightsmedia.com.